Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Capital Grounds podcast. I'm your co-host, Nick Miller. I've got my other co-hosts here, Joe Fisher and Luis Cortez. We're with SITG Capital, real estate investment firm based out of Texas. We focus primarily on multifamily real estate, but we do some ground up building as well. We're here to talk to you this morning about real estate news, talk about coffee, and talk about some interesting topics of real estate today. But before we dig into that, gentlemen, how are you this morning?
Doing good. Thanks for asking.
Hey, man.
Yeah, we had some rain here in Dallas, so it's a little cooler this morning. So I'll take it in the middle of June.
Absolutely.
Rocking and rolling here, ready to hit the jungle in Costa Rica here pretty soon. So I'm excited.
Oh man.
All right. Right. You're going to be gone for the next couple of sessions.
Yes, sir.
That's exciting.
Yep.
Can't wait to hear the coffee stories you have when you come back.
Oh, it's got to be amazing.
I'll try to bring some
if you
back
drink
for you guys.
coffee.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm actually trying some down there. It all depends. I was actually thinking, man, if I do have internet, I won't have a cowboy hat on because I don't plan on traveling with one down there. But maybe I can dial in from the jungle. So we'll see.
Hey, there you go.
Be pretty.
That
cool.
would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Yeah, I gotta say, man. Wow. Well, I'll tell you, we woke up when I woke up this morning. Like 5:30. I think it was 50 degrees outside here in Kansas. So today's the last nice day. We're gonna have mid-70s for the high. Good weather, but
yeah, it sounds great
this week.
Yeah, at least you're not gentlemen, melting like we are here.
Yeah, well, give us a few months. I think this weekend we're going to be melting and swimming in humidity. So anyway, but thought I'd share a neat mug with you guys this morning. So I'll show you. It's very simple Rock Chalk Jayhawk, tall, I don't know, 20-ounce mug. But I actually this was my dad's, and it was actually a gift that I gave him. His whole life he was not a fan of coffee, but in the last couple of years of his life, he got into coffee because I got into coffee. And so it was neat because, I got to see my dad's excitement and trying to participate in something that I was enjoying and excited about. And that meant a lot to me. So when he passed away, this was one of the things that I definitely wanted to hold on to because this was his favorite mug and now it's one of mine. But this morning we've got a unique blend in here. It's a breakfast blend. It's my go-to. It's a couple of different varieties, but it's by Bulldog Brewing or Roasting here in Lawrence. It's interesting. I think I overdid it a little bit on the grounds this morning because it's pretty dark, but it's got some nuttiness to it, and it's got some nuttiness with I don't know, something sweet on the end of the nose, but it's a tasty blend. It's a tasty blend. So that's my mug, Rock Chalk.
Nice.
There we go.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing, Nick. Luis, I'm counting on you, man, to bring something good back from Costa Rica. I don't have anything lined up right now. That's something that I really want to get out in the morning. So
gotcha. Well, if you
let me know what you discover down there.
Well, if you've got something you've heard of or researched, let me know. I'll try to find it. But I'll grab you something. Just let me know if you want dark or medium or light.
Oh man, I'll take what you, if you taste something down there and you think it's good, I'll take it. I'll probably think it's good.
Cool.
Well, Luis not drinking coffee, I don't think he'll taste anything down there he likes.
Well, I drink
You
coffee.
never know, man. You never know.
I can drink coffee, and we've had this conversation. I just have to be careful the type of coffee I drink.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. Does your wife drink coffee?
Yeah, actually, she drinks. She drinks just about it. Yeah, anything that has a little caffeine in it. Yeah, but yeah, she's. I don't think she's probably like a three cup a day type of.
Yeah.
I mean, she works shift work, so I can imagine. But like I said, I think it depends on where you're getting it. I guess if it's flavored, it's a lot easier for me to drink. But man, just the stuff that's bitter, Yeah, that's tough, man. It's tough for me to put that down. I mean, then of course, then you got to make it a milkshake like we talked about, but then you get the ramifications of that.
Yeah.
So it's just it's not it's kind of like, all right, I just rather get something else. And honestly, it's cheaper to drink coffee than my energy drink. So probably should make that shift and find something I can actually really drink that lasts and tastes good. And I've had some of the Black Rifle coffees,
Mhm.
and like I think one of them had kind of a nutty finish on it, and that one was actually really good. So
There you
but
go.
but like I said, and I just think because I have sensitivity to caffeine, right? So because
Yeah, yeah.
if I drink coffee, especially if it's hot, man, I just start sweating. So that's why
Mm.
that's another reason. Is like I'm like it's got my body temp up, as well as starts moving that blood around a lot, which it wakes me up for sure. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, probably not in the way you
energy
want.
drinks don't do that.
What are you drinking C4 this morning?
No, actually, I've got a little bit of Dr. Pepper this morning as my caffeine wake up in a
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's my cowboy style metal campfire wrapped in ceramic giddy up mug. So
There you go.
said I get that on there. Okay.
What's on the other
And
side?
well, that's the thing, is it's a really good mug.
Mhm.
I think it's by Tecovas actually gave this to me as a gift for buying one of their pair of boots that unfortunately came apart on me. So my feedback to them was, if maybe if they can make their boots as good as they made their mugs, I'd buy more boots from them.
Aren't you a big fan of Tecovas? I feel like
Uh,
I've heard you talk a lot about them.
Not in the other direction. So let's not go there. I don't want to get
Fair enough.
somebody slap us with a lawsuit for slander or something. But it is
Yeah,
my
no,
opinion.
no,
I think we still live in a country for free speech. But
just
when
teasing you.
I will say, when the company first started, they're a completely different animal than they are now, and I think most of their followers would probably say the same.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think they got away from a what made them really good was that direct consumer model.
Mhm.
And but now that they're like brick and mortar in a lot of different places, the model has changed, right? So I
Yeah.
think that
Mm,
comes with a
yeah,
lot of
fair
things
enough.
that it comes with a lot of different cans of worms that have opened up. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but yeah, let's just say I don't really see myself wearing or buying. I think I have one pair, and it's one of their work boots, because it's
Mm.
um, a wedge style work boot, which is pretty comfortable to wear, and it's got a Vibram sole on it. So I'm a big fan of Vibram.
Me
But yeah,
too.
so like if I'm going to be
Yeah.
kind of like up and down a lot, or know that I'm going to probably get a little muddy or being in rocky stuff, I'll wear those, or of course a pair of hiking boots or something. So
Well, speaking of boots on the ground, Joe,
Mhm.
we were featured in the Dallas Morning News recently, and
Yes.
yeah, would love. Can you give us a recap? Because I think that was a great feature that they did. Great little, nothing
Yeah.
too crazy, but yeah,
Yeah,
go for it.
not something that was prompted, by the way. They just found all of our filings and wrote up an article on it. So, but basically, yeah, I thought it was a great little feature. We're about to break ground on a smaller complex, 50-unit complex in the Cedars neighborhood in Dallas, which is just south of Dallas. There's a lot of changes coming to the neighborhood, so we've been bullish on the neighborhood for a while now, and this has been the culmination of you know a little over a year of work for me here, getting it to this point. So we've got everything set. We're just waiting on a couple things from the city, and we'll be rocking and rolling, and hopefully getting this thing up and going by goal would be into 2024, but we will see, kind of how things go there. There's always in development, there's always problems, there's always delays. You go into it knowing that, and you'll eventually come out on the other side with a good product. So we are excited about it, and then we hope to have some more to announce in the near future, close to it.
Yeah, it was an exciting to see that. And, for our viewers, listeners, we're inundated with deals and projects right
Mhm.
now. We it's rare when you're in a position like we're in right now, where
Yeah.
we get to cherry pick. We get to cherry pick the best deals and the best projects for what's presented to us. So, if you've got interest in real estate, if you've got
Mhm.
money lying around, 1031 opportunity, give us a call, because I'm certain that we'll have something that'll fit your needs.
Yeah, there's a lot. And, sticking on the topic of news and particularly locally, we're not seeing really much of a slowdown from new projects being announced. The Dallas Morning News, Dallas Business Journal, same with Austin Business Journal, Houston Business Journal, all of those, there's still deals coming out. There's still a big need for housing in the Texas metros because they continue to grow. The fastest growing counties in the U.S. are all around the largest Texas metros. So there's not going to be a slowdown here. There's jobs being added. I live in Dallas, so I tend to pay more attention to the Dallas statistics than I do the other markets. But Dallas has added more than double the amount of jobs of any other U.S. city, U.S. major city in the last since COVID. So the
Wow,
last 2-3 years.
that's
So
wild.
it's not going to slow down, guys. I mean, I understand there's a lot of distress out there. There's a lot of uncertainty. We think the Fed will probably raise rates at least one or two more times. So it's not like it's not going to be hard, but there's not a bubble right now. At least where we're investing, there's not a bubble. There's not an oversupply, and so we're okay, continuing to invest in development because we know things will eventually turn the tide. And if you look to the stock markets, we talked a little bit about this morning, guys, but if you look at the stock markets and what's going on there, we can see kind of the signs of that. Inflation only rose 4% annually as of May. So that's the lowest in 2 years. So we're moving in the right direction on a lot of things.
It's half of where it was a year ago. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good sign. Still higher than that arbitrary, 2.5, 2.25%, whatever. Maybe it's just 2% is the arbitrary.
That's the target.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, which if you want to hear the history of that, go check out, I think, our second or third episode.
Yeah. Nick and
Uh,
I did a little segment on that.
yeah, it's interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff. I was talking, I think I mentioned this in our last episode, but I was talking with one of our a prospective client, and they asked, how do you, so they use the Apple's Way portfolio as an example, because we've got a lot of properties and projects in Houston. And they said, how is what you guys do, you guys being us, different than what happened with Apple's Way? And, I emphasized the importance of quality management and a strong operator.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then we talked about how do we know that things aren't going to change in the near future for us? How do we know that these areas we're investing in aren't suddenly going to stop growing? And we had a great conversation about how slowly population changes happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like these places are suddenly within a month or two or a year or two. It's not like they're going to suddenly stop growing and start shrinking, right? Anytime those numbers start to go down, it's a slow taper. So there's a lot of longevity in these markets.
Right.
But Luis, you and I have talked on a number of occasions. You've got some concerns, kids heading off to college in the near future. And yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no, I'll say I know we talked about different ways to pay for school, and
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm just going back to my wealth management days and advising folks. It's obviously that portion of it is of life is more than just my finance, right? There's a lot of emotion that goes into it, right? Your kids are leaving the house, you're soon to be an empty nester, potentially, right? Depending on how many kids you have. So navigating the financial conversation is kind of it's pretty complex. It's a dynamic aspect of, okay, well, it's not just that, but getting prepared for the next stages in life. So there's I kind of use this adage with pretty much everybody, is that there's a lot of ways to pay for school, right? There are limited ways to pay for retirement. And I think that we have to be courageous enough to have that conversation, because I think too many people get, again, emotionally invested, and kind of get blinded. I would say they have blinders on when it comes to paying for school, right? So they just start dumping cash because they don't want their kids to come out with debt. And or the game plan is maybe, they try to like go 529 in combination of cash. And, there's obviously different ways to, I would not leverage, real estate, to do so, and not in a leverage from a standpoint of like, hey, like lever up debt wise, but leverage assets, right? Leverage your ability to invest in a different asset class that can produce an income and or grow, right? I kind of like it from the standpoint of what we talk about with waterfalls, right? Our bucket strategy. And you guys can chime in on this too, because I know we kind of have that similar mindset of like how you got long term, you got intermediate, and you got short term. And you should have money in all three, and depending on how well they do, you kind of cascade from one to another, right? So if the long-term stuff is done really well, then bleed a little bit of that into the intermediate, and as the short-term stuff, if it's not doing well, then so where does real estate fit in there? It can actually fit in all three, right? So you can have some in like our growth fund, right? So that'd be more of a longer term, and the intermediate having kind of a blend between our income fund and then and or cash. But because of how liquid our income fund is as far as like immediately producing, I mean, it's a really good option. And I know I'm speaking to specifically our offerings, and you can use your home, you can have a line of credit. There's all sorts of different options. So, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but my hope is to encourage people to have more than just, I don't want my kids to get into debt conversation, right? Because then that puts you to kind of a instead of an abundance mindset, you're in a deficiency type of deal, right? So or scarcity is what I would call it. And so I think we have to invite people to have those conversations, and not that we're the end all be all, because by all means we're not, but I think that there are ways that we can be of service and add value to the conversation by saying, okay, at least we talked about it, and again, the decision's yours. I always took the role of advocate, but I also took the role of because of course a lot of people like sports, or they understand kind of the hierarchy of sports from the standpoint of, hey, you've got the players, you've got the coach, then you have the general manager, but then you still have the owners, right? And I tell people, it's like, you guys are always the owner of the team. We can act in the capacity of general manager and or head coach, but at the end of the day, we're helping you pick the players on the team and positioning those and putting the right people in the right spots. So
I like that analogy. Yeah, you brought something up, Luis, with debt, and so I'll say one reason that I was able to get into real estate is my wife and I didn't have any student loans when we came out of school. So she got a full ride. She's much smarter than I am, but I did pretty well. I got scholarships, and I worked hard to get to a point where that was a big goal of mine, to be debt free. And if I would have known more about real estate before I went to college, I would have invested in real estate to provide me with cash flow to be able to make it through that. So, one thing that I think we have to recognize as well is, to me, real estate creates some flexibility. With a 529, you don't have as much flexibility, right? I mean, if your kid decides they don't want to go to college, what can you do with it? You give it to another kid potentially, yeah, exactly. I mean, but that's all you could do. That money's designated for education purposes, and unless you want some penalties, you're going to need to use it for such. But with real estate, if you were to say buy a duplex, even Luis, you talked about our fund, so the other option would be buy a duplex, something like that, and work on getting that to where it's cash flowing and paying down the note, et cetera. That's an asset that you can keep in your portfolio for even after they're done with college, right? It can set them up really well. if you run into any issues, just from a financial standpoint, it's something to fall back on. So it can be a really solid base. And Luis, I liked the point you made about it kind of falling into all three. You got your short-term cash flow, you got the long-term appreciation and principal pay down, and intermediate, you can potentially refi, things like that. I would consider more intermediate type of things. But
Agreed.
yeah, I think you covered it pretty well, Luis.
Yeah. Well, I also think in that middle bucket, right, it's all about the stabilization of the asset too, right? That
Yeah, good
you
point.
so and again, this is not to knock any other asset, but if you think about the volatility, right? And we talked about this on another episode, right, of sequence of returns, and that matters, right? So
Big time.
and I think why the markets move so much is the big reason is uncertainty, right? The market does not like uncertainty. Well, neither do we as individual consumers. So the more certainty we can add to our life, the better off the better off we are typically financially, if we talk about statistics, but also from a standpoint of just emotionally, like, oh man, it's like, okay, Junior was about to go to college, and all of a sudden, even though I was still properly diversified, now I've got 20% less in the account. So now I'm gonna have to figure out where else does that come from versus having a stable asset. And I think most of us can agree, and maybe we're a little biased because we're probably all in pretty good real estate markets, but that duplex concept, right? I mean, I actually, so my wife, when she went to school, her family bought a condo because it was less expensive to have that condo than to put her in a dorm or to put her in into a maybe a higher end type of living situation. We didn't have those kind of resources, and I played baseball, so I stayed with the team. But there's a lot of different, again, that asset is there. Well, I mean, of course it was in Austin, but I mean that asset doubled up in 2 years, right, for them.
Right.
And so I told her, I wish I could have, because I tried to tell her mom, I was like, y'all need to hold on to that thing.
Yeah.
So she ended up selling it. And I think I looked it up recently, and that thing is worth like $800,000 now. I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah. Those
I mean,
prices,
she bought it for 60, and this is like less than 20
That's
years
incredible.
ago, right at 20 years ago. So
That's wild.
I know. So, and that's the other thing, right, is relativity. And there's just too much data out there to show if you know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, hire people like us, right? I mean, that's why we're here is we provide a low barrier of entry for people to be able to invest in real estate without having to know everything, right? We between the conglomerate of our minds, we're pretty well positioned and have incredible mentors and sponsors to help us along the way. So again, it's getting people to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. But I think for folks who really think things at a logical level, it's hard to say no, because when you show them the data and give them the evidence, I mean, you can't refute the facts, right? And I think that's where we are. And, we're just trying to get people to come alongside us so they can have success with us. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. But yeah,
agreed.
I like the ability to have somebody else pay for an asset and provide cash flow. I mean, it puts you in the driver's chair. It puts you in a very proactive position versus having to be in a reactive position.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Luis. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I know a lot of people who eventually invested in real estate, and I'll say those people don't have less in real estate over time. They have more because they look at it and they realize, to your point, Luis, all of those things. If you have the resources to start, investing in real estate is life-changing. It just
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
So we're trying to provide easier barriers to entry, to your point, so that we can help people overcome some of those barriers and get into it easier than maybe the hurdles that we had to go through to get into it. But there's lots of ways to do it. So you guys take advantage of the opportunities that are out there for you.
And I want to clarify, Luis, you made a good point. You mentioned that you have to lean into the discomfort, but it's only uncomfortable at the beginning because it's new to you, because a lot of people don't understand real estate and don't know
you don't know what
estate.
you don't know. Yeah.
Right. And what they find, and the reason they become, further invested in real estate, is because it's dependable and it's often much more stable than traditional markets are, because like we talked about earlier, populations don't change quickly, housing markets don't change
Mhm.
quickly. And when you're locked in, we bought a home a couple of years ago and locked it in at 2 7/8. And had it made more sense to hold on to it, which it was a tough decision, but that's another story. Had it made more sense to hold on to it, 2 7/8 is an incredibly low.
Mhm.
We'll likely never see it again, right? But that's locked in for 30 years, right?
Mhm.
30 years you're locked in at 2 7/8 plus inflation. I mean, it's really easy to make the money make sense there, and very, very stable. So yeah, check it out. And with the costs of college only getting more expensive, although surprisingly during
Mhm.
COVID, uh, the tuition inflation was the lowest it was in almost 3 decades, which is
Okay.
wild to me. But it's significantly, it's almost tripled since 1980, the cost of tuition. And as we
Mm.
see year over year, it's likely only going to get worse, certainly by the time my kid goes to college. So a lot of
Mhm.
great opportunities here in real estate to cover those expenses.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually think this thought just popped in my head when you gave me that data is that might actually tell more of a story that's not being talked about. I mean, if you think about it, if tuition didn't rise as fast because we were in that COVID era, then
Mhm.
why does it always rise so fast when we're not?
Yeah, it might be an
You know what I
interesting
mean? It's almost
conversation to
like,
have.
is it necessary? You know, I mean, but it's, I don't
Yeah.
know. That thought just came to my head. I was like, wow, it's like, okay, well, if they
I
can
mean,
afford to provide education, at a lower rate, to
I'm sure
these
they would
kids.
argue things around, well, it doesn't cost us as much because the campuses weren't open, things like
Sure,
that,
I get that. I
but
get that.
but I agree. I think it does raise some good questions, and I would love to see maybe someone do a study over that, and compile the data.
Yeah, I might have to do it. I might have to dig into that a little bit in my forecasting class.
Yeah. There you go.
Where's the money all go? That's
It's
the
Yeah.
question, right?
follow the money,
Yeah.
not show
All
me the
right. Well,
money. Follow the money.
gentlemen, I think that wraps up our call for this morning. We're hitting the half-hour mark, but I appreciate the time you both spent with us today. Viewers, listeners, check out our website, sitgcapital.com. If you've got questions, you want to talk it over, you want to learn more about real estate, we're open books. Happy to have a
Mhm.
conversation anytime. Give us a call, shoot us an email, leave a message, comments, what have you. We'd love to hear from you. Gentlemen, any final thoughts for our audience today?
I just gotta say, Luis, enjoy Costa Rica. Let us know how it is, man. It's always someplace I've wanted to go, yet to get there. So you
Me
gotta you
too.
gotta let me know what you do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do. Yeah, like I said, I think I might have talked about this before with you guys, maybe not on the podcast, but I've got a good friend that has like that's like their place. I think they actually have a property down
Mhm.
there, and
Yeah.
Mm.
they pretty much go at least once a year, and yeah, it's been their spot since they were like newly married. So yeah,
Wow.
That's
so
awesome.
That's awesome.
I took his advice on where to go. So I'll definitely let y'all know.
Cool. Cool. Well, have a safe flight. Have a safe trip. Joe, keep plugging away. And to our audience, we will look to talk to you again next week. Gentlemen, thanks again. We'll see you later.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.